Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Miguel.
This is the Didn't Anyone Mention podcast. What do you got for me?
I guess, yeah.
All right. So, this was brought up a couple weeks ago. Bub. So,
I literally know what you're talking about, but for 5 seconds there, I was like, dang, what is he going to bring up?
Who knows? So, a couple episodes ago, I can't remember what the episode was.
It was just the last one you did.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember what it was, though. The days just go by. The weeks go by. Anyways, we talked about... Was it a conspiracy?
I don't think it was.
Sam's looking it up, but I'm going to tell you guys what it is.
So, I could literally...
So it started with the New World Order, but there are so many conspiracies tied up with that. And MK Ultra was a part of that.
Your video game.
Oh, Polybius. That's right. Yes.
Oh, also, it's called Galaxia, not Galaxian.
Who told you that?
My sister, Jaqueline, she literally showed me, and then I couldn't find Galaxian again on Google.
That sounds like the Mandela effect to me.
Okay, you saw it. It said Galaxian with an N.
I 100% saw it.
And then she's like, what are you talking? Because my sister...
I 100% saw it, Jacqueline.
Yeah, because I bet you anything, if I looked it up again...
There was a hard N in there. I saw it with my own eyes.
Literally?
You can't find it anymore?
No, it says, if you look at it, it says Galaxia. Look at it.
That's weird. There was that's not even the full thing. We'll be right back. All right, we're back and we figured it out. I was about to get real fucking tripped out. So it turns out that Galaxian was the sequel to Galaga.
Okay.
Figured it out.
Because she looked it up and I was like, no freaking way.
Yeah, that was... I almost did one on the Mandela effect too.
Yeah, because she came over on Tuesday, so she had already listened to it.
Right.
And I was coloring her hair. She's like, by the way, you were wrong. I was like, excuse you.
I'm wrong, bub.
Excuse
Bubberino.
Bubsicle. You talk to your elders like that?
Yeah, show some respect, bub.
Just kidding. No, I love her to death. But hey, I'm not saying you were wrong, but
you weren't right either. Just saying, bub. Anyways,
please don't stop listening.
Yeah. Anyways, today we're talking about a little known little CIA little something.
MK
Ultra.
Nice.
I know you've heard of it.
Oh, I've heard of it.
What do you know about it? Tell me everything you know right now.
Psychedelics.
Yeah.
People were pretty much trying to take, or CIA was giving it to people to do, to try to figure out how to do mind control.
Mm-hmm.
Because they figured if they could tap a certain part of your brain, they could submit you to mind control somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen to where people think that Stranger Things... You've seen Stranger Things. I had you watch it. Where it's like the brainwave, they try to mess with your brainwaves.
Right.
And I don't know if it was necessarily, but people think that's kind of like an inspiration-ish to part of Stranger Things.
I didn't find that in any of my research, but that's interesting.
You got to be looking on the Stranger Things sides, not the...
What else do you know?
I want to say I learned a little bit about it with psychology because of what what parts of the brain that are affected by psychedelics and acid and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I just know they were trying to use it for mind control,
mm-hmm.
and I want to say I knew something about a lady who had... Maybe it's a Stephen King story. Maybe I'm mixing these up.
What is the story?
I want to say it's called Firestarter. but I may be making that up of the storyline because I know at one point, like, she's, like, put under this mind control from the CIA, and then all of a sudden her kid, like, she ends up having a kid during all this, and then the kid has, like, powers.
It sounds like a movie or a book.
That's what I'm saying. It's a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it was, like, kind of based off it, because it was, like, a CIA experiment that was the outcome. But that's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. So, you pretty much got the gist of it. CIA mind control using psychedelics, right? It's one of my favorite conspiracies because it's not a conspiracy. It actually happened.
I was going to say, it's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, it actually happened. Although the timeline as to when it ended, that's where the question comes into play.
You really think they just stopped?
No, I don't. Personally, no. And I'll let you be the judge of it.
Why would they stop? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why would they stop?
So this is a rundown of what MKUltra was. This is from history.com. And how super resourceful I am. So, MKUltra was a top secret CIA project in which the agency conducted hundreds of clandestine experiments, sometimes an unwitting U.S. citizen, to assess the potential use of LSD and other drugs for mind control, information gathering, and psychological torture. Through the project, MKUltra lasted from 1953 until 1973. Details of the illicit program didn't become public until 1975 during a congressional investigation into widespread illegal CIA activities within the United States and around the world.
The 70s, man.
So, it really supposedly only lasted for 25 years. And that was when it started to when it ended, supposedly, right? But, you know, like I've been saying, some speculate that it never truly ended.
Yeah.
So now let's get into some history of it.
Do it.
So, in the 1950s and the 60s was the height of the Cold War, right? The United States government feared that the Soviet Union, North Korea, they were using mind control to brainwash U.S. prisoners of war for information.
I think you could break someone down pretty far.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, man, what they were doing.
Yeah.
What they were or weren't doing.
You don't even need mind control.
Some unspeakable stuff, you know?
That's what I'm saying. You don't even need, technically, mind control. They're just like, oh, like, there's no way these people are giving up the information. It has to be mind control. They were doing some pretty messed up stuff.
Right.
I would, I mean, that's, I guess, some difference between military or not, but I don't know how long I could stay, you know?
It
depends. I guess it depends on what it is. Like, if you're really, like, that value to your country, like, even, like, I don't even know. I could think of only, like, maybe one or two things I would be like, yeah, I'll just die.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's how it all started. The U.S. was scared or worried that the Soviets and North Korea were using these tactics to brainwash U.S. prisoners of war. That's how it all started. It was a fear or more of an assumption.
Yeah. So
right?
No actual evidence.
Who knows? We'll never know. Right? So what they would do is they would experiment with psychedelics using drugs and torture to try to gain mind control of anybody. And there was a scientist that believed he could harness the power of LSD, which is, hold on, I had to look it up, lysergic acid diethylamine.
That's what LSD is?
That is what LSD stands for.
LSD is so much easier to say.
Yeah, it was a chemist.
LSD is the same as acid, right? Or is it?
They're the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's LSD and then mushrooms. They're kind of, they're a lot of the times combined into the same, but they're different chemicals entirely.
They're both psychedelics, but they're
right.
They're both
so
different.
Mushrooms are psilocybin, acid. So psilocybin's naturally occurring, right?
Yes.
And LSD is chemically made.
So it was man-made. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Or man-made, yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, it's a man, believed that he could harness the power and the effects of LSD.
What's up with Sydney's?
Oh, you're fine.
We just had our episode.
Yeah, on Sydney's.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
Yeah. Check out last week's episode if you haven't.
They could harness the effects of LSD for brainwashing or psychological torture. And they used other drugs too. It wasn't just LSD. LSD was just the most
I think that
known
was
one.
just the biggest one. I think they used literally everything, didn't
Yeah, they used MDMA, which is like ecstasy, the love drug. Mescaline.
Ecstasy, is that considered a psychedelic or no?
No.
So only shrooms and acid are considered psychedelics. Or I guess what other are psychedelics?
I mean, that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
But ecstasy is what? It's like an up or a down?
It's a down.
It's a down? Really? I didn't know that.
MDMA, yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious.
But like, there's mescaline, heroin, meth, psilocybin, so everything. Heroin's a downer, meth is an upper.
They didn't try the good old 420 pot.
I mean, this is in the 60s. They were like, doesn't work on anybody.
I mean, if anything, you could just make somebody like, what's up, bro?
All right.
Tell me what to do, man. They'll forget about it later.
So that same chemist that believed he could harness the powers
the power
of the drugs, he was the director of MK Ultra. He started that whole program. He was one of the founders of it.
Not even sure.
Okay. And this is where more interesting things started to happen. So he started this program, right? Sidney Gottlieb, whatever his name is. Gottlieb. Started this program, and it was getting rolling, right? 7 months in, he had a program of 12 people. Okay. And they were starting to get rolling. Like, they were trying to get information out. They were making test subjects. They were... the most notorious one was the CIA would own these safe houses, and they would hire prostitutes to bring in men. And then the CIA agents would drug them with LSD. So these guys thinking they were going to go...
so they were literally not even willing participants.
Unsuspecting participants. They were literally just taking notes. And we'll touch on this a little later, but one of the agents even said, like, being an agent at that time was like, you could get away with anything. You could rape, kill, murder, lie, cheat. And it was just like a party. Like, you were just so unsupervised.
What?
Yeah.
Also, okay, I know we don't talk about it super often on here, but, like, you think about how crazy serial killers and stuff peaked up in the 60s and 70s, too.
I'm actually going to touch on that a little later.
No way.
Yeah.
Because
you're going to know one of them, and I didn't do a lot of research because I expect you to know a lot about them. So nice. I'm going to put you
I do like that stuff. But yeah, you would think, like, that's interesting how it was just kind of like free reign for everybody.
Not like, for everybody, but for
the CIA, like, for...
It's a new department, no supervision.
Oh, it's new? So when was the CIA founded?
The CIA was founded earlier, right? But this department of MK Ultra was new.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. So they're saying, okay, I see what you're saying.
All right. So yeah, they were it was called Operation Climax, which is kind of Midnight Climax is what it was called, is when they would hire prostitutes to bring in unsuspecting men, drug them up with LSD, and then they would study the effects on it. Now, dude, I want you to imagine you're this guy. Okay, you go up, you see some pretty little lady. You're like, hey, I'll pay you some money for whatever. Go back to their place or wherever you want to meet up. Mm-hmm. You start getting a little freaky, a little froggy. All of a sudden, you're tripping balls. Like.
That would suck.
Okay, and those effects last anywhere from 12 to 18 hours.
Well, okay, I'm sorry, but, like, a lot of women, not a lot of women, but people get, like, roofied.
True.
I'm not saying that you're, like, tripping, but you don't know what's happening.
I mean, I would rather
which one's better?
I would rather take tripping over being roofied.
100%. I think I would rather know than not know.
Right.
But that would be even, like,
well, I think knowing is better than anything.
Exactly. Well, like, even just, like, being, like, high or whatever, like, in a way that you're not expecting, like something unknown, like you're like, oh, like even if you knew it was happening, but it was unknown, it's still scary.
Yeah.
Like say, like even if you're like, oh, I'm walking through a haunted house, but I'm still like I knowingly went into it, but during the whole thing, I'm absolutely freaking scared. Like, could you imagine walking through it, not knowing that you're walking through it, and being scared shitless? Like that sucks.
Right. And so that's what they would do. It was literally anybody. There were some willing participants. Most of them weren't. There's only documented 150 people.
Why did they do these people out of all the people of unwilling participants?
I don't know.
Like, come on. Like, there's rapists.
Well,
there's murderers sitting in a jail cell.
Take a look. I'm trying to like envision this through the eyes of the CIA, right? If they manage to find somebody that, like a spy that doesn't know they've been caught, then maybe they're trying to simulate that. Like, okay, let me drug him, then I can have him tell the truth why he's here.
But still, like,
you know what I mean?
I thought of it as an ethical thing. Like,
right.
Are they thinking...
But if you're...
Like, oh, this guy was hiring a prostitute anyways.
But do you think if you're...
This guy?
You think if you're that high up in the food chain, where literally it could mean war or not, Cold War, nuclear war,
yeah.
You think ethics are at the top of their priority? I wouldn't imagine.
No, I guess not. You're more likely on the right track.
Just kind of... I'm not saying I'm right.
No. I'll say
but right. I'm right, babe. Anyway.
No, I guess you're right. I think of it because psychology has a lot of ethically or not ethically, so I think that's where I'm thinking. Yeah. And I think this is part of it, and also like presenting. I think there's a lot of examples of how ethics can border the line of if it's not or is.
Mm-hmm. And biggest thing is who sets those standards.
It's hard.
Right.
It's really hard.
Right. Because what's ethical to me is not ethical to you.
I think we have some pretty, like, similar...
Well, I'm just saying, on a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyways, so Dr. Sidney Gottlieb believed he could harness his power, decided to start up this program, MKUltra, and about 7 months down the line, or, throughout the whole thing, really, they have a semi-monthly meeting, semi-monthly cabin retreat, whatever you want to call it. And there's another doctor there, another scientist named Frank Olson. He was a scientist working on MKUltra, and he got hired on, just doing his job, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to imagine this. Okay. Put yourself in Frank's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A little brief history of him. So he was born July 17th, 1910, in Wisconsin. You go through school, you end up going to college, and you start a family with a girl you met in college. You end up having 3 kids, right? And you work in the Army, you get hired on, you don't do anything crazy in the Army, but then you go for the CIA, and you start working for the CIA, and you're in your own little program. You are the director of your own program. But the stresses get to you, and you're like, okay, I'm going to step down as chief in 1953. Remember that date. Because of the stress. He's like, I'm trying to raise my family. I got all this stuff going on. I just want to relax. Like, I just want to live my life, right? Now, you get invited to this event. You're part of this program now, MKUltra. You go to a semi-monthly retreat, and it's only for the men that are closest to MKUltra. There's only 12 people on that list. Okay, you go. It's at Deep Creek Lake. And on 18 November 1953, you're excited. I mean, you're ready to go hang out with some guys, guys you've worked with for years.
You have 3 kids. You got 3 kids. A nice little break, yeah.
Yeah, you're ready to go hang out. When you're at the retreat, somebody asks you if you want to drink. When they unknowingly slip you a crazy amount of LSD into your drink.
Dang, dude, this is a lot of women at parties, so watch your drink. Right. See who makes it. Make your own drink, girl.
Yeah.
Or crack it open yourself.
Right. And so they slip you this, they call it Trucium. About 20 years later, they figured out it was LSD. And it's a wild dose, like crazy, enough for you to trip balls. To put in perspective for you, 5 micrograms is enough to get somebody rolling. Okay. If you've ever done acid before, that's one little tab. Or I think that's one. I can't remember. I think it's 1 microgram. Is one tab. People sell vials of LSD where you can get like a dropper for your tongue. That is a lot. Okay, that's quite a bit of LSD.
Yeah.
Right? Anyways, so they slip him his drink, right? And unknowingly, you start having a really bad trip.
Well, just like these freaking prostitute guys. Well, not prostitute guys, but like the guys who have hired these prostitutes. Right. That's crazy.
This whole trip's only 4 days. Like, starts the 20th, ends the 24th of November, right? If you take...
Can it come back?
What?
Acid.
I'm not going to say it can or it can't, but it supposedly stays in the fluid of your spine.
Oh. Oh, okay.
So sometimes, like, I know I had a friend where if he popped his back...
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, if he popped his back a weird way, sometimes he'd get, like, flashbacks is what they're called.
Yeah.
Is where, like, you'll just start getting the effects of it again.
Yeah.
But he also did a lot of other stuff. Anyways, so about 4 days later, on November 24, 1953, he goes back home to see his family. Right? So you're still imagining this. Okay. On the night of the 23rd, you head back home.
Oh yeah, he like trips.
For probably 3 days straight. Like, if you take a big enough dose, you cannot...
You don't know how much the dose was, but...
You don't know how much the dose was. On top of that, when you're high on any psychedelic, you lose sense of time. So 5 minutes, like, you cannot comprehend 5 minutes. Like, in your mind, the sense of 5 minutes doesn't make sense.
That's why it's never been, like, appealing to me.
Yeah?
Of, like, psychedelics, like... Not knowing what's real, what's not, like, that has never appealed to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the movies make it seem pretty crazy. Not that I have experience or anything, but I do have experience. I dabble. And I don't dabble. I've dabbled.
In the past.
Years ago. But, so, like, in the movies, it makes it seem like, oh, all these trees talk to you or whatever. I never got anything like that. Like, it was just kind of all visual. Like a cool music video, if that makes any sense.
Like some cool abstract-ish.
Yeah, like cool music video. But the weirdest thing for me was the sense of time. Like, I remember setting a timer for 15 minutes. And, like, I would forget. Like, it felt like 2 hours. But I had no sense of time. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but...
That is not, I mean, it
sense
makes
of time
sense,
makes no sense. And another part of this is, like, if you take acid enough, you visit a version of yourself, especially if you take a high enough dosage, you visit a version of yourself where it's called ego death, where you lose, like, your ego. Like, you can separate yourself from your ego.
Your ego
you're able to talk to yourself, like, ask yourself questions unbiasedly.
That is crazy.
It is weird. It is weird. So some people say in this, like, if the CIA, like, really wanted to, they could have you visit that peak of psychedelics where you can ask yourself questions and almost like you can't come back. Like, you just lose your ego. Like, you're just lose that part of yourself. And so they fill that in with whatever they want, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Anyways, back on topic here. Frank Olson. You're Frank Olson right now. Okay. You're back on your way home. You had 4 days of just absolute tripping. Like, you don't know what just happened. Like, was it a good retreat? Was it a bad retreat? Was I high or was I not? This is a new drug. I don't know what this is. Am I even high? Do I just feel weird?
Like, I would be pissed that somebody did this to me. Right. Like, with me unknowing.
Right.
That would be my first thought.
Right. And so you get home on the 20th. And you're still unsure if you're tripping or if this is reality now because you haven't slept in 3 days. Like, you're unsure, right?
Sleep deprivation is a thing.
Right.
That was an experiment as well.
Yeah. You get home. You have dinner with your family. your wife and your 3 kids, but you're like not hungry. You can't stomach anything. You refuse to eat, and you're short. Like everything they ask you, you're just, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, short. And then in the middle of it, you just say, I've made a terrible mistake, and you leave. You just get up and go. You go back to work. That's what you do. Okay? And the reason you say that is because after all this, after you've taken the effects of the truth serum, quote unquote, which is LSD, you know what you've just started. Like, you know what you've helped start, which is MK Ultra, and you know about 11 other people know this project exists, right? Okay, now 4 days later, it's November 24, 1953. Okay. That's when you want to resign. You want to get out. Okay.
How do you get out with this big boy club? Right.
So the director, Sydney, is like, hey, just sleep it off. Like, go home early. Right. Take the rest of the day. Just go home early. Here, this other agent will take you home. And so you agree to it. Other agent takes you home in front of your wife and your kids, and the whole ride home they convince you to take psychiatric treatment, like to help with because they think you're losing your mind. So you tell your wife, like, yeah, like something's going on with me. I'm gonna go to psychiatric help. Okay, I think that's pivotal. Okay, anyways, and then 4 days after that, at 2 a.m. in the middle of the morning, you run across the room of a hotel, naked, or in your underwear. In the middle of 2 a.m., okay? Blinds closed. There's no light coming through. And you run out the window full speed. You break through and fall to your death.
Have I heard about this where... Or maybe it hasn't, because I feel like I've heard about where, like, people, like, run out the window, but then, like, the trajectory doesn't account for, like, if you're running full speed, like, kind of a thing.
I don't know if you've read that, but Hotel Pennsylvania is where Frank Olson was found.
In Pennsylvania?
I don't know where it was at. Oh. It's just called Hotel Pennsylvania. Okay. But that's Frank Olson. He was one of the scientists. He goes...
I feel like maybe I've heard about this then, because then...
So it goes kind of hand in hand with when you think of MK Ultra, Frank Olson. I just want to bring him up because it's a conspiracy within a conspiracy, right?
It's not a conspiracy, it's fact.
Right.
But it's a conspiracy within
like
a fact.
Do you think he killed himself? That's what's believed right now, is that he killed himself.
Would you kill yourself to save your family?
Ooh.
He has 3 kids and a wife.
Ooh.
Like, that's what you have to think of. Like, I would sacrifice my own life for my entire family.
Yes.
3 kids and a wife? Easily.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that.
You didn't? That's the first thing I think of, is really? If they were like, you can either go right now, or we're going to make their life a living hell.
Yeesh.
That's what I think I've heard about this, and that's like my first thought.
I'm compromised.
So.
Yeesh. I literally researched this whole thing, and that never crossed my mind.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think then?
Oh, I think he was killed.
Yeah, no, I think he was killed. I think no matter what, he was killed. If he was pressured...
You think there were strings being pulled in the background?
100%. Like, yeah, even if he technically killed himself, it was not his choice, you know? Like, it was like...
So you think you think whether he jumped through that window or not, it was either coerced or he was forced?
Correct.
So still, somebody killed him. It was not him.
Correct. Even if he technically did it, it wasn't his. It wasn't him.
Interesting. Okay. So while I was reading that part, I was thinking in my mind, like, how many other people have fallen through windows that have known things, right?
100%, dude. Or magically disappear.
Or
we're in a tragic car accident.
Hung himself, you know? Like the big one was like Epstein, like hanging himself. I don't think he hung himself. Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm so bad about Epstein. I know who he is.
Right.
But I don't think.
Child trafficker. Joe Rogan brought this up. I was listening to it. He's like, so, a little bit, I'm going to fill you in here. Jeffrey Epstein had his own island where supposedly child trafficking happens, where all these elite people go and they traffic young girls and boys. And that's kind of where it starts, right? So, Joe Rogan brought it up, and I never thought about it this way. He said, so, Ghislaine Maxwell is his wife. She is behind bars. Ghislaine Maxwell.
Interesting name.
She's behind bars now for child trafficking.
Oh, so she's been proven. Okay, nice.
Okay.
Or not.
Right. So, keep that mindset. She's behind bars.
Well, if she's behind bars, wouldn't there have to be a trial and she's...
Why is nobody else in prison then for it?
What do you mean?
If Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for child trafficking, okay, she had to have trafficked for some of the elites. Why aren't they behind bars?
Oh, you're saying why is the other end of the traffic not arrested?
And so Epstein also had a diary with initials of people.
That Epstein's diary. Yeah.
Right? Why is that not released? But like,
didn't part of it get released?
Yeah, but it was super vague.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right.
Money.
But Ghislaine Maxwell, right? She was supposedly tied to this whole program, this whole Epstein Island. She's behind bars now, saying, "Oh, she child trafficked." All these other people documented visitors of this island. Nobody else is behind bars.
Bro,
how does that
money,
dude?
Money. What's
that money? Song? I don't know.
You know what song I'm thinking.
Anyways, that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's the story of Frank Olson. Anyways, so now we touched briefly on Operation Climax, right, or Midnight Climax, which is most infamously tied with MKUltra, which is where they bring in the prostitutes, right, bring in the men, and the prostitute was government employed, brought them into CIA safe houses, and there was two-way mirrors in those where the CIA would take notes on whatever effects would happen, right? And this happened mostly in San Francisco and New York City.
Big population. Okay. Big
populations, right? Yeah. This is what I was telling you about earlier, is that one of the agents admitted that the program had very little oversight. And it had a party-like atmosphere to be a part of. Another agent named George White stated, "Of course I was a very minor missionary. I was actually a heretic, but I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage with the sanction and the blessing of the All-Highest?"
Nice.
Right? What a piece of shit. Right?
It's ridiculous.
Dude.
Like, he's like, what else would I do?
Yeah.
Like, that's just...
What else would I do?
Talk about ethics, man.
Dude, I know, right? Anyways, and then in 1974, a journalist named Seymour Hersh published a story about how the CIA had conducted non-consensual drug experiments. So that's
exactly what it was.
100% what it was. And illegal spying operations on U.S. citizens, which is mind-boggling. Not really, if you really think about it. Seymour's report stated that the lengthy process of bringing details of MKUltra to light, and that's where they mostly left it. Just like he was bringing light to MKUltra, talking about people that had gone through all this. And yeah, after all that, anyways, congressional hearings happened. They released documents about MKUltra. However, some stuff happened to disappear in a fire.
Oh, Oh, shocker.
That's why there's only 150 documented unwilling participants, because files got destroyed, they went missing, yada, yada, yada.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. I mean, it's not interesting. It's completely stereotypical of something that wasn't supposed to be done. You just gotta burn the evidence. Literally, it's like, destroy the evidence.
Right.
Is a saying. Destroy the evidence. Destroy it.
So, that's going to be part 1.
That's a good one.
That's where I'm going to leave it. Part 2, I'm going to give you guys a little sneaky peeky. We'll release it next week. MK Ultra ties into a lot of things. There's some famous things that it ties into. So, do you know Jim Jones?
Oh, did we talk about this?
We haven't talked about him yet.
Okay, maybe not.
Well, we'll talk about him. And then Charles Manson.
Oh, Charles Manson, my Satanist.
Yeah. You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he ties into this too.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So that's just a little peep skis.
Heck yeah, dude.
On to next week's episode.
Well, we'll see you then.
So, does all that make sense?
No, it makes sense. We'll finish up on the next one. Yeah, we're on a cruise right now, but we're recording everything so that you guys will not even notice.
Yeah. We'll let you guys know.
See you guys later.
Yeah. Toodaloo, bubbaroo.